Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for October 10th, 2017. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. We continue to trend higher in the ES. We have now reached the 100% expansion target after last week's bump higher. That's from this impulse range right here. We had the impulse sell-off, and that set the range here. And then we got the expansion to the upside. Here's the retest of the top of that range, and then we got a clear move to both the 50 and 100% expansion targets. This is about as perfectly played out as you would imagine. Only that one pullback here. Remember, I was talking about 24.80, but it came right to the top of this range, 24.88.5, and that's all it needed to launch another move higher. So this is very, very bullish, obviously. You can see PIMAs have been stacked and sloped. The expansion came out of at least a 2-month range here, and now we've had at least 5 good weeks of strength. Now we could be looking at another holding pattern here. The next pullback again could be another opportunity to get in and ride for another move higher. And so right now, looking for early signs of weakness, anything below recent lows, that's likely going to be an opportunity to watch for signs of rejection somewhere lower. We don't know quite where. Perhaps right here, 25.17 could provide a nice area right here, especially with the PIMAs. That could provide a perfect opportunity to defend, but we have not been seeing much pullbacks, lately. So we might see a more shallow pullback than we've seen here, like we've seen here recently, and that could still provide an opportunity to bounce this thing higher. The next push higher could easily lead to the 75% monthly target, that's 25.72, with a shot at 25.90 as well. So we'll be watching for a pullback buy opportunity here in the ES. Right now, it's just fade the edges with an upward bias in the intraday time frame. Looking at crude oil, this one was almost perfect, and we had a shift up in value here to account for why we didn't reach the 48.91s. Basically, I had been talking for several days here that the next bounce, perhaps in the 51.20, could be a selling opportunity for a move to 48.90. And price rallied, got to 51.22, and then dropped into a low of 49.10. And so it came very, very close. I was calling 48.90, 48.91. That's this pink line here. But you can see here that composite VPOC has shifted higher. And so the completion of that move is basically already over. This thing's done. It's completed that run. This value right here being right at 49.26. So I can double click this right now, call it 49.26. Go ahead and click OK. Now we're right on top of it. And so we've reached it. Because remember, the goal is always, if you find rejection, then you're likely coming back to value. And so in this case, we found rejection on this day, never quite got a pullback. So I mentioned 51.20 from below could be the opportunity to sell it for a push to value. And so you see how that thing has played out. Very, very nice. Minimal adverse excursion, none to speak of, and a nice completion of that move. So now we're pulling back in another phase that could lead to another round of weakness. Remember, we have a downtrending move right now ever since we rejected prices back above 52. So we could be looking at the next rejection leading to another round of weakness. So perhaps Wednesday we hit a failed new high, and that could start us off for another move downward. The next move will take us somewhere between 48.40 and 48.50. That's going to likely be the next zone down. So watching for that. Right now, it's a short-term trend up, and the next pullback to VWAP likely to be defended on the intraday. Taking a look at gold futures here, this was another one that we had as an actionable opportunity last week, where this thing formed that rejection right there. 1280 to 81 was an entry opportunity, and we were looking for 1253s, and then price got a nice 2.5 day continuation, but rejected these lows here. That rejection went strong through VWAP that day and closed quite bullish, considering how weak it was to start off. And so that's led to a multi-day bounce now, right back into the pivot range from below for the month. This thing has been very, very bearish ever since it pushed off that 1360 level. Never really has showed much of a tendency to rally until Friday, and now you've seen the continuation from that day. So we're still seeing, obviously, the general trend is still down. We still have value below. So the primary idea is still to watch for signs of rejection up here. Perhaps it's 1300 to 1302, right? That's the zone we were watching before as a key pivot. So maybe we have to see how price responds once it gets 1300. A rejection of that level could lead to the next sell-off down, and also that's also a major pivot. So reclaiming this level would go a long way towards suggesting more of a bounce. So right now, still a downtrending mode. Rejection up here could lead to the next push downward toward 1253. So watching for that right now. This is going to be a key pivot to watch though. Let's take a look at the NQ now. So here's a look at the NQ. Very, very bullish trending market here in the last couple of weeks. We've got the expansion through 6K. That was a strong, strong move. And now we're holding above 6K. We have not come back to retest it from above just yet. And again, that's a very sticky level. It had been very difficult for this market to push through it. And eventually it did. It pushed right straight through it. We talked about 60.86 being our target. And that's basically where we've gotten to. So here's the high at 60.84. And that was put in during Monday's light session there. So here you have the key range, and it's had a very difficult time getting and maintaining acceptance above the top of that key range, but it has maintained a steady overall advance, an upward trending structure. This push right here, very, very bullish. So this is something we're watching in the trading room. The next retest likely to be a defense opportunity for a continuation higher, but any long-term failure of that could be significant if there was a major rejection. That could lead to more of a pullback. Right now, this thing is pushing higher and pushing through 6K after a sideways market here could also spark a longer-term up move, much, much higher. And again, we have targets here that could take you out to 62.64 as the next near-term, medium-term target. So very important area right here. Still like the ES, the next pullback into 6K or just above it could be a great bounce opportunity for the next push to 6150, 6200 and beyond. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this thing plays out heading into the rest of the week. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you soon.